Okay, so hopefully all the stuff isn't in the way here. We're not done this very often. Okay, so this is where I'm from. So I'm from Reno, Nevada. Reno, Nevada. So where's Nevada? There's a blue dot right there where you can see. And when here's a close-up picture, and people, when they think of Nevada, they think of Las Vegas. And Las Vegas is actually a very far way away, kind of. It's about an 8-hour drive, so 700 kilometers. And so when you think of Nevada, you think of Las Vegas. That is not Reno. Reno is more about Lake Tahoe, beautiful Glacier Lake, and then skiing. Definitely, this is not my kind of skiing. I cannot ski so great. I'm a very bad skier, actually. But so Reno is much more nature oriented. And so just a little bit about me and my background. And feel free to ask questions anytime, raise your hand, that sort of thing. But so this is an example of the work that I was doing when I was a little girl. So I considered myself an artist. I grew up drawing all the time. I was shy and introverted, and animals were my best friends. And so I really enjoyed drawing animals, and they were my creative outlet. And then, so I always wanted to be an artist, but I actually wasn't sure that I was going to go to school. I wasn't sure that I was going to go to college. And so my mom encouraged me and set up an appointment. And so I went to the local community college. And so I'm from Casper, and it's a very small town. Population is about 50,000. And so I went to community college, and I really enjoyed it. I loved it there. And so I actually loved it so much, I spent 6 years. So community college is generally a 2-year degree. You're only supposed to go for 2 years, get your associate degree, and then move on, like either go to another college and get more education or go get a job. But I ended up spending 6 years at community college. And part of the reason is like, I didn't know how to be an artist. Like I wanted to take all of the classes. And then I also just didn't know how to make a career as an artist. So I just kept taking classes, and I ended up majoring in education because I thought, well, maybe I'll teach it. And so, and it would have been like elementary school, junior high, or high school. And so I ended up getting an associate's in that. And after doing that, I realized actually I hated school growing up. I was never a good student. And it just reminded me of why I hated school. So I thought, well, I can't be a teacher. I can't be a high school teacher. This is not for me. And so after about 6 years, I quit and I got a full-time job. The good thing about doing community college for 6 years and doing ceramics for 6 years was that ceramics is a really deep field. There's a lot to learn. And I tell my students, knowing what not to do is as important as knowing what to do. And you have to make a lot of bad work and a lot of mistakes along the way to figure out what doesn't work. And so this is indicative of the work that I made at the end of my 6 years there. And I was really happy with it, but I didn't really know where to go with it. You know, it reached its climax. But so I ended up quitting community college. And then I got a job at a flower shop where I worked for a couple years. And it was the worst job I've ever had. People think, oh, flower shop, that must be so nice and so relaxing. No, it is not nice and relaxing. Also, you know, it just depends on the employment too. But basically, it's a very hectic job. And I think it's a lot like working in the food industry. I've never worked in a kitchen, but I think it's you have deadlines coming in all the time. The phone is ringing off the hook. You've got people coming in needing help. And so after 2 years, I decided, well, maybe I can find another job. And so I met with a college counselor and said, hey, can you give me one of those tests that tell me what else I'm good at? And he said, yeah, I can give you that test to give you other possible careers, but you want to be an artist. It's obvious you want to be an artist, and you are on the path to regret. And if you don't change what you're doing now, you're going to be miserable for the rest of your life. And I left crying because I knew everything he said was true. And so that I was married at that time. So that meant that I would have to leave my husband and go away to school. And so that's what I did. And so my husband followed me later. So I ended up going to the University of Wyoming, Laramie. And I wonder if this is in the way. I'm gonna move that. So I went to the University of Wyoming, which was just a couple hours away by car. And I got my BFA there. And so that just took me 2 more years. Oh, and except for now, it's not letting me, there we go. And so this was my professor, Phyllis Clota, whom I studied with at the University of Wyoming. And she was amazing. And she helped me grow my art in ways that I couldn't by myself. And so she encouraged me to embrace the animals, because when I was in community college, I quit drawing animals. And so part of the reason is that it seemed like animals weren't a legitimate subject matter. It seemed like you shouldn't draw animals. No one ever taught me that or told me that. But when I was taking art history classes, it's all about the human form. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I shouldn't draw animals anymore. And so when I quit drawing animals, they just started popping out in my ceramics. But it was safe because it's like, oh, no, it's not really an animal. It's a pitcher or it's a teapot, that sort of thing. And so this first picture is what I started making when I went there. I was thinking a lot about environment, but my teacher, Phyllis, encouraged me to lean into the animals and said, it's okay, you can make animals. I don't know why I needed that permission, but I needed that permission. And so that's when I started straying away from making vessels that looked like animals and just started making up animals. And so during all of this time of going to school, so I paid for my own school and I worked at flower shops. And some flower shops are better than others. They have better management. And so that's how I paid my way through college. And so at the end of my BFA degree, I still didn't know what I wanted to do. I still didn't know how to be an artist. And so I thought, okay, well, if I quit going to school now, I'll just go back to my hometown where there's no art opportunities and I would stagnate. And so I decided to go to graduate school. So I applied to a lot of programs. Getting into graduate school is a process in and of itself, and it's challenging and it's competitive. Some places are more competitive than others. And so I ended up going to University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and studied under Mark Burns, who was an amazing professor and helped me grow in ways that I couldn't have grown myself. And my art is so much better because of him. Here comes Sam. And so this is the type of work that I was making during my MFA program. And so I was embracing animals, thinking a lot about the environment that they lived in, and thinking a lot about design, texture, and surface. And also, you'll see a lot of flowers or flower-like imagery creeping into my work. And I think a lot of that comes from my background working in flower shops. And so just, hi, Sam.
Yeah, I've had challenges for the past 30 minutes trying to log in, and the students told me they'll be able to log in. I'm sorry, I think I'm having challenge with my network.
It's not a big deal. I understand the network can be really dodgy there. So I'm glad you made it. So yes, they told me to start anyway.
Okay, yes. I told them to let you start.
Okay.
Because I was done, yeah.
Okay, all right. Good. All right, so I'm recording it so you guys can, and I'll send you the link and you guys can watch it at another time too.
That's nice. Brilliant.
Okay. Okay, so a little bit about graduate school. So if you decide to go to graduate school, basically one of the most important things to do in graduate school is to make a lot of work, because you have to make a lot of work to figure out your voice, to figure out what works, and you also have to make a lot of bad work in order to make really good work. And so make lots of work. I worked very long days in the studio from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. That's Monday through Friday. And then Saturdays, I'd probably work about 3 or 4 hours. But this actually felt really nice to me because when I was getting my Bachelor of Fine Art, paying for school is hard. So I was working 35 hours a week. And then I was taking 15 credit hours. So basically my day started at 7 in the morning and it wouldn't end until midnight or sometimes 2 in the morning. I was tired all the time. I didn't know why I was tired. And after I graduated, I realized, oh, you're working all the time. You're just not sleeping enough. But so when I got into graduate school, it was very comfortable. I felt like 6 in the morning till 6 at night. Now I have the whole evening to have dinner and a nice life. I had Sundays off. It was fantastic. And so I also tried to exhibit my artwork as much as possible. So I entered juried exhibitions that were all across the United States, but mostly places that were sort of close that I could ship my work so it wouldn't be that expensive. When I was in graduate school, they gave us a stipend, so I didn't have to pay for graduate school. And so I had a little, I still didn't have, I was still very poor. And so also in graduate school, it's important to be active in the local art community, attend exhibition openings that are not your own, be, a participating artist. And you never know what comes from that, just having conversations with your friends. You meet new people and it helps you really stay fresh with your work. It helps you continue with your work and opportunities happen sometimes that way. Yeah, so I entered my work in juried exhibitions. And also it's important to make friends with your fellow students because you guys are in it together and you guys are the ones that will help each other all along the way. I used to think, oh, I need some high professional to help me. Well, your professor is there to help you a lot. But what I found throughout the years is it's not anyone that's further ahead of me in my career that's helped me, generally speaking. Mostly it's my colleagues, my people that are my age we're all helping each other. So make friends with your fellow students. And then be proactive. If you go to graduate school, really work hard to foster a good relationship with your teacher because he's going to help you that much more. The more you give in life, the more you receive. And so I felt like it was my job to make his job easier. So I made sure the classroom was always clean. I made sure there was always enough play and slip. I fired kilns. And I made sure I checked in with him before class every day and said, okay, what do you need me to bring out so that, he wouldn't have to do prep work? Do you need me to roll out slabs? That sort of thing. And then make your own opportunities. You can have pop-up exhibitions anywhere. And so if you have an idea, a lot of people want to help you do things. And so there are people in the community, and then there's also just meeting with friends and trying to figure out, well, how do we make a show actually? And all of that is really good experience. And so how did I pay for school? So a lot of the stuff, I don't know that it is relevant to you guys at all, unless you do decide to study in the US, but state universities are a lot less expensive than art schools. So I attended state universities. I didn't ever go to art schools. And I went to school on scholarships. Some of the scholarships I got because of my artwork, and some of them I got because of good grades. And so I just was sort of naive and thought, oh, everyone will like my artwork, but not everyone does. And so sometimes your foot in the door is through getting good grades, and then people realize, oh, you're a really hard worker, and so they'll help support you. And then there are a lot of other scholarships in the United States. So there's hardship scholarships. So if you are poor or first generation college students, you get priority for money. And then I also took out student loans and I accumulated a fair amount of credit card debt, which I don't recommend, but it was the only way that I could do it. And it took me a long time to pay off, but I paid them off. And then if there are a lot of graduate schools in the US that will pay for your graduate school. And so when I went to school, graduate school, I maybe paid like $300 tuition. It's very inexpensive. And then I was a graduate teaching assistant, which meant I helped my teacher teach, and I learned how to teach at the college level. And so I got paid to do that. And so it wasn't a lot of money, but it was enough money that I didn't have to take out loans to pay for school, and I kind of had enough money to eat and to pay for rent. And then my job was just to be in the studio all day long and learn what it is to be a professional. And then I did have some occasional parental assistance. Sometimes they would buy my school books, especially when I first started school, they would buy my school books. And then at some point they bought my groceries a lot. So it was difficult for me, but it all paid off in the end. So so graduate school for me was 3 years. Some graduate programs are only 2 years. I wanted a 3-year program because I wanted more time to make a lot of work. And so I graduated from my program after 3 years, and then I went on the job market to find a teaching job. So I learned in this whole series that, I actually enjoy teaching college students. They're amazing. I love college. And so I applied for some jobs. There weren't very many on the market, maybe 5. And I got one interview and I didn't get the job. And then so I stayed in Las Vegas for another year and I taught part-time at the same university I went to. And then I applied for a lot of jobs. So this next year, the year that I ended up getting a job, there was probably 15 positions open. And I went on a lot of interviews and I failed a lot. And so I ended up getting 2 job offers. And I was not good at interviewing. I practiced and I practiced and I practiced, but it wasn't until I went on all of these official interviews that finally the light went on and I figured out how to interview well. And so one of the job offers was at the University of Nevada Reno. And so population 26,000, 100,000. And so that's how I ended up here. And so finding your path is difficult. And so it takes one step at a time, so when I first, so this is Wyoming, this is where I grew up and where I went to community college. When all I knew is I wanted to be an artist. And so I decided, well, the only way to figure that out is going to school. So that's where I did my bachelor of degree and then figuring out, well, I still don't know how to be an artist. So that's when I went to Las Vegas and did my graduate school. And by the end of that, that's when I learned, actually, I really want to be a college teacher. And so that's how I ended up getting my job in Reno. And so it just takes time. And then also a word of advice that I wished I would have thought of when I was younger is pay attention to the artists that you admire, artists that you want to kind of maybe be like, the artwork that you kind of are really interested in. Look at their resume, because their resume will tell a story. And so look at how it will tell you where they started, and it helps you figure out, so this might be a good place to exhibit my work, or this might be a good workshop to attend. So it kind of gives you some ideas of a path of how to figure out where you're going to go. So this is where I work. And so this top picture is me critiquing some of my advanced students. And then this bottom picture is just a regular day in the studio with the advanced students working all the time. And my studio gets super cluttered and messy with student work, which is fantastic. And then this is my chemical storage. And so we don't have to dig our chemicals out of the ground. They just come to us in bags from heaven, it seems like. They get delivered to us. We order them, they get delivered to us, and then we just stack them and organize them. And then we put them in smaller containers here for the glaze room so that you can make your own glazes really easily. And when we run out of chemicals here, we go out to our back dock and we resupply ourselves. And so we restock our chemicals typically once a year. Sometimes we have to do it twice a year. This is our kiln room. So we have several electric kilns. This old one, I still really love. It still works. And then on the other side of the room is our wear cart where students put their work to be fired. And generally all of their work gets fired. Sometimes it explodes. And so ceramics is also a lot about community. And so sometimes we'll have barbecues, we'll grill up some food. on Friday afternoons and get together and have a nice time and then go back to work. And so this is a mixture of advanced students, my ceramic technician, actually my husband's there, and another ceramics professor. And then this is one of our, this kiln here is actually this kiln right here. It's actually out of commission right now, which makes me sad. Hopefully it will get running again, but it's a really great kiln. It leaks. It's, so we only do low fire in here. So we'll do a low fire bisque firing in here just because it leaks too much. We can't really hold the heat in. But if you're making gigantic work, it's amazing. And then this is our clay mixer. So a lot of our clay comes pre-mixed. It's dry. It's pre-mixed, it's dry. And then all we have to do is add water. And this is my technician, Richard. He makes the clay for all of the students. But I like to make my clay from scratch with a variety of chemicals. And this is where I mix it, I add water, and then all I have to do is wedge it up to get the air out of it. And so, oh gosh, it didn't work. I was putting my PowerPoint together last night. I've got some funny things going on here. But so this is an example of the student work. This is Mike Livernash. He was a BFA student. And so this was his work that he created at the end of his time getting his bachelor's degree. This is another student, Terry Barnes, that was doing very interesting and unique sort of abstract sculpture. She was getting a BFA. So when our students do the BFA program, they always have an exhibition. They have an exhibition midway through, halfway through, and then a final exhibition. And so this is Shara. This was her midway exhibition that she had. And then this was her final exhibition. So she was interested in installation and mixed materials. This is Michelle Laxalt. This was her final thesis exhibition. This might have been from her midway exhibition. I think that's thesis though. But so she was interested in the human form. She was also interested in how humans interact with each other, also interested in dreamlike ideas. And then this is Sandra. This was her final exhibition, very interested in pop culture and bright colors and animals. And then this was not a BFA student, but he was really interested in making work for his generation and being sort of rebellious in a way, like creating a ragtag team of protest sorts of artistic protest movement, I guess is a way to describe it. But so this is like a helmet that he made out of ceramic. So it's raku fired. And this is one of the shields, again, he's made. And then so he had an exhibition just in the hallway. So this is a beautiful picture, but it's just in the hallway. And so that's my point, is you can have exhibitions anywhere. And then the pictures are really the things that matter, because a lot of people don't actually see exhibitions. They see the work through photographs. And so you can exhibit anywhere, take good photographs, post it, and it looks amazing. And then these were a couple other students that were in my advanced ceramics class, 2 different students. That's Brian, and I'm blanking on her name. But really great work. My students do really great work. So there are a lot of student opportunities that they have at my school. So this is me with all my students who attended NCECA, and I don't remember what year that was. So NCECA is the National Council on Education for the Ceramic Arts. Sam went to it last year, and it's amazing. It's just a conference for a bunch of clay nerds Oh yeah, okay, so it's where you get to learn a lot about ceramics. You get to see a lot of ceramic artwork. It broadens your horizons in ways you can't imagine. And so we, and so this is my students with this student truck with a bunch of artwork loaded up. So CCACA, California Conference for the Advancement of Ceramics Art, is actually very close to us. It's only a 2-hour drive. And so my students had the opportunity to exhibit their work there. Unfortunately, I don't have a picture of their exhibition, but that's their truck loaded up and ready to go. And then they like each other. They have a lot of fun. This is Halloween and them all dressed up in their costumes. But we do a lot of fundraising so that my students can attend these events. And so This was our most current one where we invited a bunch of, oh, whoops, what happened? Where we invited a bunch of students from the university, non-art majors, to come and paint your own pottery. And paint your own pottery is probably an American thing where we make a whole bunch of bisque work, we just slip past it. And then they come in and they paint it however they want, they glaze it however they want, and then we fire it, and then they have their treasure, I would say. And we charge them per piece to do that. And so we make a lot of money doing this. We used to do a Christmas fundraiser where we would just make a lot of work and sell a bunch of stuff. And then this is another one of those things where we made a lot of work and my students sold it at a different venue. And so they make money, and then I apply for grant works, and every year they've gotten to go to these conferences for free, and it's a lot of money, and they're really fortunate they've never had to pay to go. But so I try to provide a lot of opportunities for them. And so this is my creative process, a little bit about that. And so usually where do my ideas come from? So my ideas tend to revolve around thoughts about the world, the mundane, life-changing events, and the world that I want to live in. And so some of my examples of this is I'm romantic. I enjoy reading romance novels, which as a college professor, I'm not supposed to admit. But I think that, I'm just really interested in how people interact with each other, romance, love, and the stories that get told with that. I am a starry-eyed romantic. I think the world is a beautiful and magical place to live. I think we get caught up in the world we live in too much with our workaday lives, and we forget to see the beauty and magic that surrounds us. So I create work to remind us of the beauty and magic that's every day. And then so examples of the mundane, this is just a simple little piece, and it's about enjoying the ability to sleep in. And so the idea is this animal in America, if there's Z's, these letter Z's above its head, it's sleeping. But so this animal has woken up and the Z's have fallen down. And so it's about sleeping in the mornings and having the luxury to do that. And then, so this is an example of the installations that I create. And so, it's about building a world that I want to live in, and it's about having an experience where you can kind of forget about your troubles. You can walk into a gallery and just be immersed and surrounded by art. This piece is, again, about the mundane. So this piece has multiple arms. And so basically, this animal is just scratching themselves. It feels really good to scratch an itch. And then, so examples of life-changing events. So this is about the time of my life when I was getting divorced. And so it was about getting flowers from guys I wanted and guys I didn't want. So at first, and so mostly it's like my husband was trying to make things work. And at that point, things just weren't working anymore. He was giving me flowers. I didn't really want them. And then wanting flowers from other guys and not really, it's scary. Like thinking about being divorced is a really scary place. And then this is Sweet Somethings. It's about, girls don't want to hear sweet nothings. Sweet nothings is an expression. We want to hear sweet somethings. Tell me something really meaningful that you like about me or whatever. And so also it's about being present and in the moment. And so that's why the hummingbirds are there. Hummingbirds are symbolic of being mindful and being in the moment, because they can fly forwards, backwards, they can hover into space. And so it's just about, appreciating the everyday life and the moment that you're in. And so sources of inspiration. So I used to play video games. I don't really have time for that anymore. But video games, especially old video games, were really great because they're abstract, because they didn't have really good technology in the old days. And so the simplification of form is really beautiful. And then I also loved the fact that you get to enter a world. And so that's sort of what I want with my work. I want people to enter a fully realized world. And so this is the National, which is a band that I really enjoy a lot. And I'm old school. I like to listen to an entire album rather than shuffle, rather than music to music, just random artists. And the reason I like to listen to a full album is because I want to immerse myself in the world they've created. And so other sources of inspiration, I wonder, I'm always afraid of hiding this because then my controls get lost. So Chris Van Allsburg is a source of inspiration. He wrote the book Jumanji, which they turned into a horrible movie, and Polar Express, which is also a movie that I've not seen, but this book in particular has been super influential on me. And the title of the book is The Mysteries of Harris Burdick. And then the premise of the book is that there was an author / illustrator went and met with a publisher, and he had a manila folder full of drawings similar like this. So this was one of the drawings, and all of the drawings had titles. So the title to this drawing is The Third Floor Bedroom, and all began when someone left the window open. And so if you look closely, the wallpaper, there's a missing dove there, and this dove has left, his wing is lifted. And so there's a story there. And so the premise is this guy dropped off all of these beautiful drawings to this publisher, and the publisher never saw him again. And so he's just left. So when you flip through the book, it's just beautiful drawing after beautiful drawing with title. And then the viewer, you're left to fill in the blanks and to use your own imagination. And so that's the thing that inspires me with my work, is I want to create a fanciful world where there's a lot of room for interpretation for you to fill in the blanks. And so Bambi, Walt Disney, is a huge source of inspiration. I thoroughly enjoyed watching all those movies as a kid, and all of the animals especially. And the Chronicles of Narnia is another book that was inspiring to me. It's about this whole other magical world that exists within our own, that the children discover as they find this hidden door. And so, there's a common theme here with magical worlds. Okay, so a little bit about my process. So the way I start is I make lots and lots of drawings. And so this is my studio, and you'll see all of these books. So I flip through a bunch of books of animals, and then I just start drawing. And so this is sort of typical of some of the drawings I make. And so the books just sort of help jumpstart my imagination. And I have stacks and stacks of drawing, and most of this has never been made. But I feel like you have to draw is to think. So by drawing, I get to think through a lot of stuff. And then finally, when I land on something, then I will decide to make it. Another thing I like to do is I like to spend an hour, less than an hour once a week, and just thinking about the week that just happened. I'm remarried now, have the best husband in the world. And all of these drawings are inspired by real life events. And so I'll think back on the week, and I'll think, oh, what was the best part of last week? And it's fun because a lot of these things you would never have pictures of. And it's so these are also sources of inspiration for things to make work out of. And then a little bit briefly about my process. I like to slab construct. So all of my work is hollow. It's built with a slab form. There's a lot more pictures on my website. I also have a YouTube channel where I talk about some things, and new videos appear all the time. But so also whenever there's multiples, I slip cast. So I'll make the piece solid usually. I'll make a mold, then I'll cast them, and then I can make a lot of one thing. And so anytime you see a lot of something in my work, repetition, like the flowers I made a mold of, the bees I made a mold of, and then this is the final piece that I was just showing you the process of. So residencies, like I never knew about residencies when I was a kid, or even I didn't even really know about them until graduate school. And they're a really great opportunity and a way to continue to make artwork. And so I've attended a few residencies. So this is the Bemis right here, the Bemis. So basically what I did is you apply to go to a residency. Some are short, like a week long, some are long, like 3 months long. And so this was in Omaha, Nebraska, and it was a 3-month long residency. And you apply, and it's competitive. and either they accept you or reject you. And this Bemis was great because they actually pay you money. So they paid me to go to this beautiful loft studio to make work. And so the payment is barely enough to live off of and to buy your materials. And then it's a really focused time. So that's why people do residencies, is because it's an escape from their day-to-day life, and they can really focus on their artwork. And so this one I attended in Rome. This was about 3 weeks long. It's a month long. This one was, so that was in Rome. This is Watershed. And so that's on the east coast of the United States, Maine. And that's a 1 week residency. Maybe it's 2 weeks. I can't remember. 2 weeks. And then this one was Sitka. That was on the west coast. And that was a 1 week residency. 1 week residencies are, and the reason people go to residencies, like this is a great example here at Watershed, is you get to meet a lot of people. And so a lot of these are ceramics geared, but not all of them are. But it's nice to meet other colleagues, to think and talk about your work and broaden your networks and help more people out and get helped by more people. So I'm going to kind of go through a few slides somewhat quickly, because I'm not sure how long I've gone, but so I am a narrative artist. And so basically I tell stories with my clay. And so they can be very simple stories. And so Bittersweets, this is just about, I used to not be a vegetarian. I used to eat meat, and I used to feel really guilty about it because I love meat. Who doesn't love meat? But then you're eating another animal. And so I had these conflicted emotions about that. And so that's what's going on here. This is the really happy animal that's eating these butterflies. And here are his friends like watching, and you're not quite sure exactly what's happening with them as they're watching their friends get eaten. And then distract me. So I made this piece when I was at the residency at the Bemis, and I was away from my husband, my first husband at that time, and it was feeling lonely and really missing the ability to be distracted by him. You know, it's when you're alone, distractions are really nice, and they're a way to curb loneliness. So it's, you know, longing for a distraction from my husband. And then also, you know, I like to sort of play around with the viewer. And so I like to think about, how does my work engage the viewer? And so with this piece, it's super sweet, it looks innocent, charming, kind of little kid-like. And then when you go in for a closer look, you're like, oh, wow, I wasn't quite expecting that. So I'm interested in that push and pull with the audience. And then also, you know, I'm interested in talking about what it means to be a woman. And so this piece is really large. You know, you can see in that picture, it's almost as tall as me. And it's about like women embracing their sexuality. And so oftentimes in America, if a woman gets raped, the first questions are, well, what was she doing? What was she wearing? Was she at a party? So they're always blaming the woman. And so I'm thinking about like, how do women embrace their sexuality, lean into it? And so that's why this piece is super large and confrontational. You can't control it and put it on your nightstand or something. It's kind of large and in your face. And then Perfect Day is about, you know, I think about animals and how they leave no trace behind, really. So, and so all of the food they need ideally is right there. And so that's what this piece is about. He's just eating all of the food that's existing for him in nature. And then this is my Twilight exhibition, and this is about it's called Twilight because it's this in-between space about twilight happens twice a day. It happens in the morning and then it happens at night. But it's not morning and it's not, you know, it's not night. It's this sort of, it's not morning, it's morning, but it's not sunrise or dawn, and it's not dusk. And so it's this really nebulous in-between place. And so when I was creating this place, you can see it's part exterior with all of the trees, and then also it is part interior. You know, so I've got this wallpaper border. So it's like inside and outside. And so it's this space, like I think about when you're first falling asleep, how how your dream world and the concrete world blend together. So if you're listening to music or you're watching TV and you start to fall asleep, there's this in-between place where they're bleeding together. And this was all a metaphor for me as I was contemplating divorce. And so there's this in-between place. I'm not very happy. Are we going to stay together? Is the world going to work out or not? There's these turtle night lights that sort of spin this whole, it's the beginning that spins this magical place into being. And so this piece is called Dead Weight because I work with portraiture, essentially, self-portraiture. And so essentially the blue animal is me, and then the purple animal is my husband. And so basically I felt like I was pulling my husband along everywhere I went. I was trying to build a career, I was trying to build a life, and I was just dragging him along. It wasn't a lot of fun for him, and it wasn't a lot of fun for me. And then this was another example of like, this is me, the orange animal, and I'm trying to get love from this plastic animal. It looks like it's plastic, it's ceramics. And it's called an exercise in futility because I'm trying to get love in the way that I need love from something, my husband at that time, that wasn't capable of doing, loving me in the way that I needed to be loved. And then this piece, Say Goodbye, is sad. It's a sad piece because this animal, this is me. So I've grown wings, I've evolved, and the other animal hasn't. And so like, I have to fly away, and it's sad that he has to stay. And then Nine in the Bush, there's an expression in America that's a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. So it's basically, grab onto what you have. Don't try to go and get two more, because if you've got one bird, that's as good as it gets. And so I was thinking the expression was a bird in the hand is worth nine in the bush. And so I thought, okay, or a bird in the hand is worth 10 in the bush. That's what I thought it was. And so I thought, okay, I'll make it about nine in the bush. And so basically by doing nine in the bush, I thought I was talking about scarcity, like it's not enough. And then as I was making it, I realized, oh yeah, that's not quite the expression. I have it wrong. And then during this process, I was thinking, oh, I will stay married. We are going to make this work. This is going to be great. And so actually this piece is perfect because now it is about abundance. There's so many birds, it's about abundance. But in the end, it didn't work out. And there's a detail. And so I'm going to wrap up here with this show pretty quickly. But so this piece is titled Hope. And this was, again, a metaphor about me and my relationship. So this creature represents myself. And so when I was a kid, I would try to rescue baby birds or birds that have fallen out of trees or wounded birds. And I was always really hopeful that I would make them live and thrive, and they always died. And so this baby bird was a symbol of my relationship with my then husband. I was really hopeful that the relationship was going to work, but ultimately it failed. But and then this is just a little bit about how all these structures are made. So I've got the trunk of the tree is one piece, and then this top part fits like a lid, and then these other two structures just stack on top of each other. And so this way I can fire them in smaller kilns, and then also I can ship them and they're not going to break. And so I think I'm going to call that good, because I think I've gone on for a very long time. These are just other examples of my artwork. This piece, this whole installation was about after divorce and being tender. It's called Flesh and Bone, like just being insecure, wanting to date people, but not wanting to go on dates. I was boy crazy, but also afraid of boys. And then this was a really great, that was one of my favorite exhibitions that I did, where I flooded the gallery with water and hung false walls. It was amazing. But so I'm going to conclude with this. This is the door to my studio. So insurance for when all the robots take over the world, take over all the boring jobs. So major in the arts and sciences, think for a living. So I am a big proponent of the arts, and robots aren't going to take our jobs. People always want to have artists. And so that's all I have for you today. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. Oh, but I have some things in chat, I see. Oh, I see. Nothing important. Okay, so
Rebekah,
yes.
thank you for this presentation. I found it so informative and so professionally done from the first image all the way to the end. I have a real thorough sense of where your dreams come from and your unstoppableness, passion for having and being, and your joy of living. Everything about it. I love that I had this opportunity, because I think if I were to be in the presence of your work by myself without ever met you, I would have come up with my own narratives for them. But I love what yours were. I found it very beautiful, very touching. And I wrote down here, unstoppable. And I think what you did is you gave the students a real step-by-step grid on how you became you. And I think
Thank you.
Bravo.
Thank you
Bravo.
so much. I'm turning red though. I'm very flattered. Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because I feel like it's, nobody knows their path. Nobody knows. First, it's hard to figure out what you're going to make, what is your voice, and then you also have to figure out how to be an artist. And I feel like it's useful listening to other people's path to help figure out your own, or even listening to other people talk about their meaning of their work, because you may end up touching on something that they are interested in, or maybe articulates what they're thinking and they couldn't bring words to. So I hope that it was inspiring, and that it just gave insight of a way of making art and being an artist. And this is my truth and what I know. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Your journey was wonderful.
Thank you. I also have to say I'm wearing this scarf today. And when I was at your university, KUNST, I was there with my husband, and they were doing a business conference, and they gave us a bunch of free stuff. And I have a coffee cup, which I have at home, but they also gave me this really lovely scarf, which I am wearing for you guys today. So, okay. Well, thank you so much for coming. I will stop recording, and I will post this, and I will send a link to Sam and our women's group, and feel free to watch it anytime. Also, I hope I didn't talk too fast, but feel free, if you have any questions, just email me anytime you want. I'm happy to answer any of your questions. I'm happy to help you as much along the way as I can. That is the point of this group, is to get a bunch of ladies together to help other ladies figure out how to be artists. So any questions, feel free to reach out, email me, and I'm happy to answer.
Okay, happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Bye-bye.
Bye.